I'm trying.
This episode of The Mandalorian is called Chapter 20, The Foundling, and it was short. Not a whole lot happened, especially in comparison to last week when we got, like a 50-plus minute episode, and now all of a sudden we get an episode that's barely a half hour long. As long as you don't include the opening and ending credits. It was, wow, okay. Yeah, thoughts? You? I mean...
I started out, I know you guys didn't start out liking this TV show. I started out like more on the up and up, liking it a little bit. Now I don't know what Jon Favreau was thinking. I don't know where he's going with it. I don't understand what the plot is. We're halfway through the season.
Yeah, that's the big thing. We are halfway through the season.
Where is this going? What was the purpose of this episode? Who cares if that's why they introduced the boy 2 episodes ago that was getting, he was being brought into the fold per se.
Right.
And then this giant pterodactyl creature beast takes him away. And the whole episode is them saving him. Who cares?
I don't understand.
None of this episode fits. They have had left so many questions in the last 4 episodes. Not one has been answered yet.
None. Not
a
lot.
The Mythosaur?
Not a lot.
What is it? What happened to her castle? Why were there TIE fighters on her planet? Who's the bad guy? What's going on? The only answer we've gotten so far, is he going back to the original planet that he started from? When he was talking to the guy. Is Davy Jones coming back in? Is the Empire... None of these questions, and they have 4 episodes to answer this. They are cramming unless it's like what you said, because I was listening to it again. You had stated that they have filler seasons.
So a lot of television shows do this, where it's just like, well, they don't exactly know what's going to happen. Let's just make a filler season where not a whole lot happens. That kind of feels like what this is, because this episode made no sense, especially when you look at like the grand scheme of what they're trying to do. So we end season 2 with him getting the Darksaber and like a clear like plan forward. And we begin this season with a Mythosaur. We have a really weird 40-minute segment where we completely go away from the Mandalorian, which I liked. Lee liked. You really didn't know that much, which is fine, to each his own. But it's like this season so far feels so disjointed. It feels like they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And now we have to worry about, this whole Mythosaur business and that whole debacle, which they didn't even touch on. Like something should have happened there.
Well, she did say that.
Yeah, she said it, but at the same time, it's like nothing happened.
Right. So you had asked me, because Lee usually takes notes for this. You had asked me if I took notes for it. I said no. And you said we're going to wing it. So just for all those listening, here's what happens. They're back at the planet where they met with all the Mandalorians. The kid that was what was he like going through an orientation? He was becoming
orientation. He was
becoming a
yes.
He was pledging to become a Mandalorian.
I think that was in the pilot where you see them giving him a helmet, or whatever episode it was. They give him his helmet. You are one of us. Like it is the way. That's
right. And at this point, now we're back there. They're having conversation about what happened. Still, she's like, what's her name? Bo-Katan is like, I saw a Mythosaur, yada, yada, yada. No one cares. And then this giant pterodactyl thing comes down, grabs the kid, and flies off.
Okay.
Brings him back to his nest.
Right.
The rest of the episode is them just saving him.
Yes.
That's it.
This episode was designed to show that Bo-Katan is capable of
leading once again.
Leading a charge. which is fine. Good for her character. I have questions about the Mandalorian. So we have this group. There's about a dozen or so of them. They are supposed to be hunters. They are supposed to be out collecting bounties. They are supposed to be skilled in all different types of combat and whatnot and all that good stuff. But they, for some reason, just have a really hard time against very large beasts. So I don't get it. Like, we see them with the crocodile thing, and they're not doing very well at all until Mando comes in and just shoots the thing. Okay, yeah, fine. But they completely get handled in there. And here, a big bird comes in and takes one of the kids and flies away. I'm sorry. I immediately call shenanigans here because that kid would have been dead. There's no way. there's no way that he survived. And then to go on, when they finally, get to the kid at the nest, it gets the kid gets regurgitated out of this bird's stomach, and here you go, food for the little. No, it's so stupid.
He'd be dead.
It is so stupid. It is so stupid. But anyways, so let's try to go through it a little bit though. So the episode begins with Grogu being trained to become a Mandalorian, and immediately he just, flips back and forth a couple of times and shoots the kid with, the paint darts 3 times, and he wins, the little training exercise that he's a part of. Why?
No idea.
It boggles the mind. I don't know. And they're proud, and then that's when the pterodactyl comes and picks up this thing and flies away. But I don't know. Let's talk for a minute about the flashback that's in this episode, though. Did you do any research about this flashback?
No, I just know that it was part of Order 66.
Okay, yeah, it was part of Order 60. It's deeper than that. So this Jedi that's protecting Grogu, Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call him, he was the motion capture person and voice actor for one Jar Jar Binks.
No.
Yes, he was.
Oh my God.
If you want to look that up right now, you can absolutely go for it. He was
No, I believe you.
Motion actor and voice actor for Jar Jar Binks.
I will say Lee was right in this part because when he uses his lightsaber against the clone troopers, I don't want to say stormtroopers, but clone troopers, the saber just hits the trooper's chest and it just throws off sparks, and that's it. Which
Yeah,
I get.
much.
That was just dumb. So dumb.
This whole episode was dumb.
There was no the flashback was the coolest part of the episode.
Yes, but even still, like we saw a flashback of Grogu throughout Order 66 before. We know he made it out. We know he's okay because clearly he's alive right now, and it's years and years later.
And I don't get why this thing that's creating part of his armor is causing him to have a flashback. What was causing him to have a flashback?
I have no idea.
He's watching this thing clamp down on this whatever, and it's like, because typically when you have a flashback, there's something that triggers something that reminds you of something similar that happened.
Yeah.
So it's like people with PTSD, when they're at home from the military and they hear a loud bang, they have a flashback to when they're in war, and
fireworks.
It brings them to that. Fireworks will give them that flashback.
Example, yes.
Right. But to be sitting at home and a piece of paper falling off your table, all of a sudden you're like brought back to, oh my gosh, like all this stuff. This doesn't even connect.
Not at all.
I'm agreeing with Lee more on the fact of they don't know where they're going with this season.
No.
I was on board in the beginning, and now I'm like, what the heck? Like,
which is fine, but I think my whole, I think he and I are in agreement. My whole point was that they are just using Grogu because he's a toy seller. Like, that's where we are. That's where I'm at with him at this point. That's where I'm at with this show at this point. I still don't think that he needs to be there. I think Mando needs to be off doing his own thing. I don't understand why. And not to mention, like, they bring... Okay, so you get this giant bird that carries away the kid. The bird then tries to feed the kid to its babies, or to the eggs that hatched, and they kill the big bird, and then they bring the baby pterodactyls or whatever they are back. Now, are the birds going to become Mandalorian now? Because the episode is called The Foundling. So I'm why? What is the point in any of this? It's unbelievable. And aren't they like...
Makes no sense.
Aren't they... Wasn't there like... and I'm going to have to ask Lee this next week. I could have sworn there was a thing where it's like they're supposed to kind of divorce themselves from any kind of attachment. But this kid and his father are like a thing, and there's clearly like a giant emotional attachment here. And I thought that was like a no-no when it came to like becoming a Mandalorian. Like, you're not really supposed to do this. Am I like... It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
None of it makes sense right now. So I'm in total agreement with you.
I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know what else to say about this episode. I mean, I can try to like loosely go through it. Like I said, Grogu's being trained. He, gets off the shots. They make a plan to go up. Well, okay. So here's something to Lee's point that he's been trying to make for a few weeks now, is maybe the season is more about Bo-Katan than it is anybody else, because it is kind of setting her up to be somewhat of a leader. We know that she had at one point the Darksaber. This is all coming from Lee's knowledge, not mine. I'm just kind of regurgitating things that he told me. We know that she at one point in time had the Darksaber. We know that she was a leader of the Mandalorian on Mandalore. Like, that was her like familiar lineage, and she's supposed to be in that spot. We know that she's the one who saw the Mythosaur, and it's, clearly she wants to ride it, I guess, kind of like Boba got the Bantha, and like a Bantha. Exactly. So it's clear, and now we see her like in a role of leadership, and they even go into this whole thing where they're sitting down to eat. Like, the leader of the party gets to sit by the fire, and they all kind of disperse so they can take their masks off and eat, which spits in Lee's face a little bit, because he was asking that question, how do they eat? Well, now we know how they eat. They all go in their own separate directions to take their masks off to eat.
But that's what I was saying this whole time, is you couldn't take your mask off in front of people.
You can't take your mask off in front of people, but when they're alone, everything is okay and fine, and they're allowed to do that. Kind of like oh, never mind. Because I know neither one of you watched it. There's a television show that comes on Netflix called Squid Game, and it's a wild show. But basically the same thing happens, where the people who are working in the facility, they're not allowed to take their masks off in front of anybody else except when they're alone. So it looks like they lifted a little something from that, which, okay, cool. It explains that away. It explains that away a little bit. I can tolerate that. And yeah, like you said, then we get the armorer who's making this chest plate for Grogu, and then it just completely sends him into a trance where he starts remembering what happened during Order of 66. And like you said, I don't understand how this connects at all. Neither do I. I could understand if he if he saw a lightsaber and like an accident, like if that were to trigger something, and it should have triggered something, like if that was the case, and there were supposed to be like these things that are supposed to happen to trigger him to like have a flashback, Luke showing up and chopping down all the guards when they were on that ship or whatever, that should have triggered a flashback. But here it's the armorer making a chest plate. That's what does it. That's it. That's the answer.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm with you on that one. I'm totally with you on that one. And like I said, Jar Jar shows up and saves him, and then they fly off. I cannot believe that they brought him in to do this.
It was so dumb.
It is so stupid. This whole thing is so stupid.
Okay, and here's the dumbest part. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
They come back from their search party and their rescue party and saving this kid that got eaten.
Yes.
He got eaten. He got eaten and then regurgitated. And then what do? There's 3 babies in the nest.
That they bring back with them.
They bring them back with them. And she's like, I got 3 new foundlings. How are they going to make these things foundlings?
I don't know. I don't know.
They went
All
off
of a
the
sudden,
deep end.
all of a sudden, it turned into Game of Thrones because they ride dragons in that show. So now it's like we're gonna ride dragons now. Great,
Yeah,
great.
sure.
We're gonna have three dragon riders in the Mandalorian. I a little bit before that though, during the fight scene, if you even want to call it a fight scene, where they're trying to get this kid back and they're trying to like kill this beast, this bird at the same time. Okay, like I said, we have a group of Mandalorian who are supposed to be incredibly skilled at what they do. But one of them, I think it was Bo-Katan, one of them gets batted away by the wing flapping and she just barrels to the ground and like barely makes it in time to like catch herself with her jetpack. Like they are flying on jetpacks, but she's dumb enough to fly like right next to the wing and it just bats her away like she's nothing.
Yep.
This, sure. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
This whole thing. This whole thing.
This whole thing is wild.
I watched it and I'm like, what's going to
wild.
happen? And then the part that bothered me was I'm like, what's going to happen? Oh, it ended.
It ended.
It ended?
It ended.
Like,
it ended. On the weirdest note, okay, so Bo-Katan is before the armorer, and she's getting new armor, or she's getting like repair work done, and she wants to change her emblem. She wants to change it to like half whatever it is, and half mythosaur, and she goes on to say, "I saw a mythosaur in the living waters on Mandalore." And this armorer is like, "Yeah, whatever. You're gonna see all kinds of crazy stuff. Don't worry about it. It's a vision." Like the armorer is like fully convinced that this is a vision, that this wasn't real. You did not really see a mythosaur down there. And I'm like, this is the second person who doesn't recall anything. Like, okay, so I had a big thing with you and Lee about whether or not Mando got dragged down to the bottom of this water or he just fell straight in. I'm still on the side that he fell straight in. I don't think he got dragged down. I think you and Lee definitely still thinks he got dragged down. I really don't know where you are. But he has no memory of a mythosaur being down there. He doesn't remember being pulled down. He didn't see anything. And now she's before the armorer, and even she's like, "No, you're gonna get visions because you're a part of us." Blah blah blah. So this is the second person now that's telling her this might have been somewhat of a vision. And now it's like, well, was it a vision? Is this real? Is this like? I don't know, because the show doesn't know what it wants to be right now, and it could literally turn into anything. So
anything. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
It makes like I'm speechless, to be honest with you. I've been thinking all day, like, what can I say that's good about this episode?
There's a whole lot of nothing that either one of us are going to be able to say about this. I ran through the episode. Like I said, it's the shortest episode of The Mandalorian by far. I have no idea why, especially after last week. We got like a 50+ minute episode. I was excited. I was like, good, longer episodes. This is what we needed. Wonderful. And then the next week, boom, sub 30 minutes. Sure.
I feel like this season of Mandalorian is on par with the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I was looking forward to so much better.
Yes, so was I. But
unless I'm just dealing with Breaking Bad delirium.
I don't think I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what it is. This is just a bad season. This is not the greatest, and this is not the greatest thing that Star Wars has done. By this is pretty bad, and I agree with you. I put
the sequels above this.
So do I. So what we've gotten so far in this season, absolutely. This is, like I said, this is on par with Book of Boba Fett.
I was listening to last week's conversation, and Lee was like, "Yeah, most of the planets are just floating cities." And I thought back to it, and I'm like, no,
it's a floating city type thing. Like a lot of the planets in Star Wars are just floating cities, like Cloud City and others. They're not actually on the ground.
No, like a lot happens on the ground in Star. Like,
well, yeah, a lot happens on the ground, but then again, his knowledge, in his defense, I will say his knowledge of the EU is better than either one of ours. So he's been
It
through.
is, but
He's read books.
every TV show,
He's read
every TV show, every movie though is on a planet, not like above the planet.
You're right.
You know, it's like even in the sequel trilogy, Luke throws his lightsaber off a cliff.
Yeah.
A cliff.
Yes.
Into the ocean, like on a planet.
Yes.
We've
certainly
where's Yoda?
seen
Where's Yoda?
Dagobah.
He's Dagobah on a planet. I'm like, wait a minute. What do they blow up in the Force Awakens? A whole planet.
Yeah.
A lot happens on. There's
the
only
ground.
one. All of it happens on the ground, which I listened to. I was like, this rock is the only part of the planet that you can touch. I listened to that. I'm like, it's so true. It was the dumbest line I've ever heard in a Star Wars anything.
Yes.
Like, why are we?
It wasn't great.
What is? I go back to this. I know you say George Lucas. I go back to it, and I'm hung up on it. Disney has destroyed all of what we know and love these days.
I think I'm gonna agree with you. This is Disney through and through. This is bad. This is not great. I kind of wish Lee was here so he could kind of like be a counter to us, because I feel like he might have something positive to say about this episode. But
I don't think he would.
I think he would. He's more optimistic than either one of us. I think he would find something kind of positive to say about this. I just don't know what that is.
I think he pretends to be optimistic more often than not, just so he can defend, quote unquote, his words, defend the little guy.
No, I don't think that. I think he just wants to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
Okay.
A lot of the time. I think that's what it is. He knows, like he knew Boba Fett was not good. He knew long before he finally admitted to it. He knew.
This show is awful.
This is bad. Hopefully, the final 4 episodes, again, 8 episodes, hopefully the final 4 episodes do get a little bit better. I'm hoping.
I hope so.
I'm hoping something has to happen.
But what's up with these 8, 9 episode series? Like, what happened to like 10, 11, 12?
I don't know.
That extra 1 or 2 episodes makes a huge difference in a season like this.
You're right. You're absolutely right. 100%.
100%. Last of Us would have been so much better if it was 2 episodes longer.
I agree with 100% with you. They're not doing the best. They're trying to cram so much into so little, and when it's weird because all right, so the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, I do believe they were both 8 episodes because we're in episode 20 right now, 16 for 8. Fine, that I understand. Yeah. But even in the first couple of seasons of Mandalorian, there was a lot, and there were certain things that were given room to breathe, even though it was, very video game-y when you just went from one mission to the other mission to another location to another obstacle that you had to overcome. And that was all fine. Here, it feels a little bit redundant because so far we've had 2 episodes where they have to fight a beast and lose. and lose. Yep. It feels so weird. But I don't want to continuously just pick on this because we're just going to keep running in circles.
Hey everybody, Lee from Black and White Reviews here. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you for tuning in, checking out our conversation. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more about this specific subject or other things, check us out on our podcasting sites, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Podcasts. We're up on pretty much all of them. So yeah, thanks again for popping by, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.